The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
And they want to raid Medicare to pay for socialism. Somehow I don't see Indiana being the next Venezuela. I just don't see it. Right?
You know, this is so indicative of the level of intelligence that the GOP requires of their supporters. I mean, I know I don't need to explain the fallacious nature of this, but Medicare is probably one of the best examples of socialism, next to the post office. But I digress. You already knew that. And the fact of the matter is that they probably know that in the audience too. But the level of willful ignorance, it's amazing the level that people who generally have functioning digits, they may have obtained certain levels of education, so they have the ability to reason, but they lay it all down on the altar of conservatism, on the altar of republicanism, and particularly on the altar of Trumpism. They sacrifice their intelligence to continue supporting someone like Donald Trump and to continue supporting ideas like conservatism that fall underneath the pressure of the weight of their own ignorance. It collapses, it implodes underneath its own weight, the weight of its contradictions. I want to keep it plain and simple. I mean, conservatives are either extremely ignorant or intentionally obtuse. It could be a combination of both, obviously. But for them to cheer this on, knowing the irrationality of it, but then also knowing the hypocrisy of it at face value, they are the ones in charge. They are the ones who are attempting to raid Medicare. And they're not raiding Medicare to implement any other post office style socialism. They're raiding Medicare to give trillions of dollars to billionaires and millionaires. We've already seen that effort. We saw immediately after they passed the tax bill last December. Paul Ryan and Donald Trump shifted to entitlement reform. Translation, they shifted to cutting what remains of our safety nets to justify or to support these tax cuts that they gave to billionaires. And of course, they can cut all they want from Medicare and Social Security. It's still not going to be enough to compensate for all of the trillions of dollars that we've given to millionaires and billionaires over the years. And I'm not just talking about in the form of tax breaks. I'm talking about in the form of subsidies, actual dollars that they did not earn that were redistributed from the bottom to the top. A lot of times we misconstrue this idea of giving money to trillionaires, and then the counter argument from conservatives usually is along the lines of, well, this is money that they earned. I don't know why every conservative sounds like Ben Shapiro to me now. But the fact of the matter is, it's not only money that we did not take from them in the form of taxation, but it's also money that was taken from the broader society through taxation and redistributed to the top in the form of corporate subsidies, corporate welfare. Not only that, we also pay for their lack of payment to their employees, to their labor, not paying their labor force a livable wage. And so now we, as a people, are responsible for paying for the welfare, what remains of welfare, for their employees that they don't want to pay. So we subsidize them in many different ways, including taking care of the employees that built their fortunes that they don't want to take care of. But that's not what Medicare is going to be rated for. It's going to be rated for what?
And they want to raid Medicare to pay for socialism.
Oh, you are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I'm sorry, it's the truth. Why? And the irony of it, I have other things to talk about, but the irony of this is that there is a concerted effort to intellectualize this level of ignorance. The Ben Shapiro's of the world, the entire intellectual dark web, the moron Dave Rubin, who is completely clueless and incapable of defending any position whatsoever. There's an attempt to intellectualize this level of ignorance as well as the bigotry. But I talk about the bigotry all the time. I'm just blown away by how proud they are to be morons. And they don't care about it. Obviously, like this is not something that they're going to hear and be like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to reconsider my ways. It's a game to them. They know full well that they're playing stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not as ignorant as they pretend to be, at least not all of them. Some of them actually weaponize ignorance in order to achieve. Now, Donald Trump, for example. Donald Trump may be ailing in his mental faculties, but he certainly understands the value of weaponizing ignorance. Right? He understands that the dumber of a role that he plays, the more his base is going to eat him up, just gobble him up. Sorry for the sound effects. He understands that. And there's this amazing divide in Republican politics that has been cannibalized over the years. It isn't as rigid as it was back in the day, and back in the day being pre-2000. Actually, no, it was pretty rigid then. It was the divide where you had people who carried the veneer of intellectualism. They presented themselves in an intellectual fashion, even though they were bereft of intelligence, or at least they were bereft of logical, coherent arguments to support their theories, because there are none. Right, you had this, but I like to mark that era with the Milton Friedmans, the William F. Buckleys, the Goldwater, who presented himself in an intellectual fashion, but yet those arguments were so devoid of any substance to this day. But at least they had the veneer of intellectualism. I like to demarcate that. And then you bring in the George Bush era, where you start seeing the decline of public intellectualism, or at least the facade of public intellectualism, and the full embrace of just country bumpkin. And by country, I don't mean Southern. And by country, I don't mean rural. I mean this trope of weaponized ignorance that has become the hallmark of conservatism today. No matter how much they want to present themselves as intellectuals, underneath it is the truth of the matter that they don't know the difference between socialism and anything else. Yet they rant and rave about it. The truth of the matter is they don't understand that the Republican Party is literally ripping all of their benefits away, the benefits that they need to survive away, in order to give it to trillionaires. Yet they cheer on Donald Trump as he says, no, it's not us that's robbing Medicare, even though they are the ones in power. They are the ones with the reins of all three branches of government. They are the ones with the ability to do exactly what they have done. But they cheer him on with this cacophony of ignorance. And it has become the hallmark of conservatism. They are proud of this. And there is, of course, the desperate attempt to reclaim conservatism from this level of ignorance. It has just become an exercise in intellectualizing ignorance and intellectualizing bigotry. But I digress. That's not the point of today's podcast. The point of today's podcast is Donald Trump is in trouble. He's in particular trouble because his ability to not be impeached depends on public opinion and depends on the control of Congress. Now, to be sure, Donald Trump has done enough already. Without even the conclusion of the Mueller probe, Donald Trump has been engaged in enough controversies by the standard of American history to be impeached, period. Anyone who wants to argue against that, just look back through history. No. I'm sorry. You're being disingenuous and you're not engaging in good faith, because throughout American history, we have seen two impeachments in particular that Donald Trump has superseded those violations. And so he has already done it. And he understands that his way to maintain power is public opinion. That's why he constantly wages a war of public relations in the public eye against Mueller, against every media outlet that reports anything of substance against him. He's in a constant battle for the opinion of the public. And the reason I say this morning that he is in trouble is because of this latest ABC News Washington Post poll that came out today, this morning at 7 a.m. Trouble for Trump. Disapproval at a high 63%. 63% back Mueller. Half favor impeachment. Half of America favors impeaching Donald Trump. His approval ratings, 36% approve. That's been consistent since he got into office. There is that core third of the voting electorate that supports Donald Trump no matter what. A large percentage of those are evangelicals. That's an entirely different conversation for another podcast. But that is his base. Disapproval ratings, however, have shot up to 60%. In terms of the Mueller investigation of Trump and his associates, according to the ABC News Washington Post poll, 63% support the probe, 29% oppose. So there is a subset of people who support Donald Trump who still support the Mueller investigation. How many people support impeachment proceedings against Trump? 49% believe that impeachment proceedings against Trump should begin. 46% believe that it should not. Donald Trump is in trouble. If he cannot win in the public opinion, then he is going to drag the Republican Party down even further than they're dragging themselves in the midterms. And they're going to lose the majorities in the House and the Senate. It's a long shot. It has always been a long shot. It's never been a guarantee. But with approval ratings like this is going to discourage Republicans from going out. It's going to encourage Democrats to go out. With the standard swings that we always see in the midterm, the opposite party always comes to power. Generally speaking, throughout recent American history, there's been swings after a general election. In the midterm elections, the opposition party gets back into power. That being the case, Donald Trump's numbers are that significant this morning. In the case of Michael Cohen, the question that they asked the respondents, they said if Donald Trump directed Cohen to pay off women, Trump committed a crime. 61% believe that he committed a crime. And that is important because that aligns with the law. You know, he has been implicated in whether or not he can be indicted is a question. It's a constitutional question. Most people say that it's not possible to indict a sitting president, but there will be an indictment for him once he gets out of the White House. But at 61%, that means that Donald Trump is not winning in the court of public opinion. 31% say that even if he paid him, he did not. That's that base of evangelical voters, white supremacists. I don't think I've done an episode on it yet, but I have to do an episode on this camaraderie, standing side by side. As a Christian, I've had people say, well, how can you stand side by side with people who support abortion? And I've also had people say, how do you stand side by side with the LGBTQ community? And I've answered those questions in depth. It's quite actually, logical and moral to do so. And I don't feel like going through it in this episode, but you can go get my book, God is Not a Republican. But I want to ask the question of evangelicals who find themselves standing in solidarity with white supremacists and white nationalists, notwithstanding the actuality that some of them themselves are white supremacists and white nationalists. There are those who believe that they are above the fray, that they couldn't possibly be racist, and they operate in the love of Christ, yet they align themselves at the bottom of the barrel. I mean, we're talking about scraping the very bottom of the barrel here in terms of support for Donald Trump. And you find two groups consistently not moving an inch. And those are evangelicals and white supremacists. So while you're asking me how I could stand in solidarity with the LGBTQ community, which is quite easy, I want to ask you, how is it that you stand in solidarity with white nationalists and white supremacists? But that's not the point of today's episode. The point of today's episode is that Donald Trump is in trouble. His approval rating has dropped in every category. Not a single category has his approval ratings not dropped. In his base of white women, college degree women, he is now at a 23% approval rating, down 17 points. White men with no college degree, they are still the biggest group that support Donald Trump at 55%, but that's down from 70%. I would say we have to have a conversation with them, but I mean, we understand that they align with Donald Trump's identity politics, white grievance, the fear of white genocide. Moderates approve of Donald Trump at 24% from a high of 37%, down 13 points. College graduates in general, 29%, down from 42%. I don't know what they're teaching you in school. Here's one that's very interesting. Actually, I'm going to come back to this one last. White men with a college degree, 44% support Donald Trump, down 10 points. Whites in general, 45%, down 9 points. Men in general, down 7 points. Democrats, down 7 points. I don't know why there was any points for them to go down to, but I'll be fair. It's only at 6%. And conservatives, 67% of conservatives still support Donald Trump, but that's down from 74% career high. Donald Trump is in trouble. I mean, and you can see this, like, if just anecdotally, I have people in my circle that are conservatives who were so anti-Hillary Clinton that they supported Donald Trump, even if they had questions about Donald Trump. And now they are full-throated against Donald Trump. I mean, they have no qualms whatsoever. They have no hesitation in opposing Donald Trump at every turn at this point. Now, they should have done this back 2 years ago, but what's behind is what's behind. The group that I wanted to leave at the very end was blacks. Donald Trump had a career high approval rating of 15% amongst blacks. He is now at 3% amongst blacks in America, down 12 points. And I want to just take a minute and give a special shout out to those 3% of people who support Donald Trump. The Candace Owens of the world, the Denard Parises of the world, the David Clarks of the world, the black white supremacists who gladly do the bidding of white supremacy. You did your best. I remember they were spreading this Rasmussen poll that said that Donald Trump's support was at 30% in the black community. And I knew, without even digging into the numbers, and partially I'm a little disappointed in myself because I didn't get the poll and dig into the numbers to expose the fallaciousness of it. But I just knew at face value that was bullshit, right? And this poll illuminates that that's bullshit. There's a 3.6 percent margin of error on this. So this 3% that support Donald Trump is basically just statistical noise. Which, yeah, I mean, of course, okay, so it could be as high as 6%, but congratulations. It's nowhere near the 30% that they were trying to convince black Americans that supported Donald Trump. Everybody was looking at themselves like, no way, how's this real? This is not real. And here Candace Owens, who is the new queen conservative black white supremacist, because that's exactly what she is. She's an Uncle Ruckus looking ass black white supremacist, right? That's her role. That's what she gets paid good money to do. Here she is trying to use this one poll that has always traditionally skewed to the right, skewed towards conservatism. But she tried to use that data as a means of manufacturing support for Donald Trump, using an appeal to the masses, saying that, oh, well, if 30% of black people like Donald Trump, then maybe he's not as bad as we think. And today we see that it's really somewhere around 3 to 6%. But between 0% and 6%, if we're going to include the margin of error. So I just want to pause and just give that shout out to Candace Owens. You did your best, honey. But you failed. And I know they're not going to, most people who perform this poorly get fired. They're not going to fire you because they need you. there will always be a role in society for black people who will do the bidding of white supremacy along varying degrees. Now, this is not just to say that white supremacy is served only on the right in conservative circles. There's a bit of white supremacy on the left as well. I mean, not just the Democratic Party. Some people try to say, oh, it's just the Democratic Party that has white supremacy also. No, even the further left. I mean, all the way over to the question of socialism, like Marxism and socialism, they're still embedded in our society, white supremacy in varying degrees. This is not to draw a false equivalence, because there's nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what the Republican Party has become, a full-throated arm of the Nazi Party. And while that might be hyperbole, they have Nazis running for office. If you want me to be specific and not speak in hyperbole, they have Nazis running for office and winning their primaries. So nothing that you find on the left, whether it be the Democratic Party or the Socialist Party of the far left, nothing, and I say far left with love and embrace because we need them, to be sure, nothing that you find on the opposite side of the right of American politics is comparable to what the Republican Party has become in terms of white supremacy. I just wanted to put that, I wanted to clarify that. For anybody who says, oh, this is just liberal propaganda. No, this is accuracy. These are matters of fact. You can't compare what we saw brewing, the growth of Nazism, of national neo-Nazi parties across this country, organizations, the growth that surged after the election of Donald Trump, his open embrace and unwillingness to shun white supremacy. His false equivalences between those who fight fascism, Antifa, and those who are fascists. This appeal to white grievances. You will not find anything else like that in American politics. And you will always find a handful of black people who understand the financial opportunities that are afforded to them if they will sell their blackness in exchange for 30 pieces of silver. But all of that said, their best efforts to convince black people that the Democratic Party was the plantation, not this party over here who literally are on plantations, who literally embrace the Confederacy, who literally don't want to let go of Robert E. Lee. That's the realm of free thinking. They literally thought Candace Owens and Republicans think so poorly of black people that they think that we cannot understand that what they are offering is the purest form of white supremacy that we have in this country. Because they think if they use a catchphrase of the Democratic plantation, that we'll somehow, we don't know any better, boss. They call the Democrats the plantation. So obviously we're supposed to go over here with the Republicans, boss. Like the moron Kanye West did. But the polling bared out this morning what I always knew, what you knew. Black folks ain't fooled by this shit. We peep game a mile away. We've run into Candace Owens before. We've run into the David Clarks before. We've run into these conservatives who are more than happy to down the black community in exchange from some notoriety. And I get it. Sometimes times get hard, bro. You're hard up for money. It gets really hard out in these capitalistic streets. The game is rigged against us. And sometimes you just, you get so poor that you think about, well, man, if I converted my show to be attacking liberals and attacking progressives, man, I could be a millionaire in about a month. Obviously, I like my odds with the working class. So anyway, Donald Trump is in trouble. He is losing in the court of public opinion. And once he loses in the court of public opinion, it is nothing for him to lose in a Senate trial, especially after the midterm elections. There's so much more to say. I don't know if I want to go any further because, of course, I believe that we have to bring everything to a gridlock, that we have to fight dirty, that we have to ensure that Kavanaugh does not get in between now and the midterms, because once we get to the midterms, we will hold the line. The Democrats better hold the line for 2 more years. We'll do just fine with 8 justices. And simultaneously, rather, we have to hold the line against a President Mike Pence, block him at every turn, frustrate his every effort, make sure that he gets nothing, and we take from him everything. If I could borrow a line from a great movie that's riddled with white supremacy, but I still like the movie 300. I remember I was doing an interview for a guy who was working for Yahoo News at the time, and he asked me some questions about white supremacy, and I'm like, white supremacy is literally everywhere. It is. It's in our entertainment, which is why I'm talking about it, the movie 300. It's in our entertainment, but sometimes you just got to turn off your radar. I can't live my life worried about white supremacy in my entertainment right now. I love this show, Preacher. The best show on TV right now is Preacher, but they literally have God represented as some old white man with a white beard, just a typical God. I'm like, man, as much as I love this show, I got a problem with that, but I love the show and I'm not going to stress myself. I love The Walking Dead, but they kill off every black person they get a chance to kill off. It's a white supremacy. And then with the movie 300, I know I don't have to do this, but I have a couple of more minutes, so I might as well. It's Friday. I might as well meander a little bit. But with the movie 300, they have this image of these pure white guys who are fighting against the brown baddies from Persia, right? I mean, how steeped in white supremacy can you? How much more steeped in white supremacy can you possibly be? But anyway, that had absolutely nothing to do with anything. That was a freebie. The point is that we have to take from them everything. We have to fight dirty. We cannot apologize. We can't apologize or mince words. When they are lying, they are lying. They are liars. Conservatism is a lie. Every bit of it, from top to bottom, from their ideologies to their talking points to their media, it is steeped in lies. Call it that. From the White House to the literal outhouse, I imagine, here in Georgia, lies. They are morons, whether it be intentional or not. They have weaponized ignorance. They understand the power in removing context from everything, and yet demanding context from us. They understand. They have mastered the art of political manipulation. They will not engage in good faith. They have every intention of engaging with you in bad faith so that they can shake your faith in what you believe politically and ideologically and based on fact. They will look at you and say 1 + 1 is 3, or better yet, 2 + 2 is 5. They will look at you and say, don't believe what you hear and what you see. Obviously, I'm alluding, well, it takes away the value of it if I tell you what I'm alluding to. So anyway, I'm feeling better these days. I found my center. I lost my center for a little bit there, but I found it, and I know how to get back to it on a regular basis. Become a patron. I've given you 2 full episodes back to back. Excuse me. Go to patreon.com/the BPD show. Become a patron. I normally would say we need your support, but I need your support because I'm out here doing this on my own, and I'm doing it because it needs to be done. The truth has to be said, whether it's heard by 1,000 or 1 million, it has to be heard. And you can help me and get it out even further. Patreon.com/the BPD show. It's been a great week. Thanks for hanging out with me. As always, you are the real MVP. Those of you who get out in the streets and make it happen. I'm just here trying to coach you along. I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Bye.